name's Russell Raines. I am the program director of the Digital Media Management MBA program at St. Edward's University in Austin, Texas. And the program is in its third year. It's a unique program. It's an actual core MBA, 54-hour program. But rather than having a concentration in economics or finance or accounting or management or marketing, for example, we actually graduate students with a concentration in digital media management itself. This is unique as far as we know. My own background, I'm a lawyer. I practiced law for about 20 years. I was an entertainment lawyer and then did a great deal of intellectual property work, copyright, trademark, primarily music clients, some film and some early gaming clients as well, both transactional and litigation work. And anyway, in addition to that, had been teaching for many years at various universities, typically as an adjunct professor and typically in either entertainment or music business or some copyright type classes. With Austin being a reasonably well-known entertainment hub, it was natural or logical to assume that sooner or later there'd be a specialized graduate business program that would focus on that. And I think the common wisdom initially was to create a music business MBA program, and that was kicked around for a long time by a lot of different schools in that part of Central Texas. And eventually, a lot of things happened. For one thing, media, as we know it, began to converge. And ironically, Austin, though it has a very thriving music business industry, for lack of a better word, all along was actually cultivating and growing a very strong interactive gaming community. It has also simultaneously been developing a film community and has had some fortune there. So it became evident that having a graduate program focusing only on, for example, an MBA with a music concentration, music business concentration, would probably not really serve the area that well. And so eventually people kind of put their heads together and came up with what would be a digital media management MBA that would look not at any one particular area, for example, not just film, music, or interactive gaming, but look at all of them and basically look for the commonality, the common denominators. What are the issues that are common to all of them with an eye toward creating a new type of manager that would actually be conversant in these different areas, and it could be the interface between ultimately the tech people, the business people, and the creative people. Kind of a long answer, but that's how it came to be. I actually conduct part of the interviews in the process when we're interviewing candidates for the program, and some do come from discrete areas. Some are music people, some are film people, some are gaming. Some are just interested in all of the above and have no particular formal background. For me as a program director, I'm actually more interested, obviously the academics are a big factor, but I'm more interested in a passion for one of these areas. So I don't really care if they don't have 2D or 3D animation skills. They don't really need to know that, at least in a technical sense, in order to later work as, for example, a project manager with an interactive gaming company. But what they are going to need in order to be successful is a passion for it. And so that doesn't exactly answer your question, but to me that's what I look for, and I think that's more important than a technical background that they can otherwise acquire.
But they would need management skills, marketing skills, and all the rest, right?
Well, not prior to the program, and that's another really good question. Unlike a lot of MBA programs, our students do not necessarily come from a traditional BBA background. So many of them have never had any business courses whatsoever, which creates a problem for my faculty to actually bring everybody to a certain level and at the same time make it stimulating and get them through a graduate program, but it's not a prerequisite. We encourage students, sometime subsequent to their being admitted to the program, to investigate the possibilities of hopefully finding a community college accounting or finance or marketing course that might help them get up to speed a little bit more rapidly, but it's not a prerequisite.
Well, once they graduate from your program, what skills will they have?
Essentially, they will be managers. And that's something that is a good question because it's misunderstood very often by the very people who are trying to get into the program. It is an MBA program, period, okay? So, the skill set that they will have will be like any other MBA graduate. except it will not be a concentration in the classical disciplines that you would associate with a business graduate degree. So they will have essentially marketing skills and management skills. They'll have a pretty good, really a very good background in business law, as well as the digital application of that, and all of the courses that you would typically see. And the way that we keep that above board and guarantee performance is that between the first and second year, they take a major field test, which is a standardized test. I believe it's ETS, or one of the standard testing services, and they have to perform at a reasonably high rate, above the national average. And this is something to make sure that the students who are graduating do first and foremost have an MBA. And that's their ultimate marketing tool. And then they have the specialized, the concentration areas, which are the digital media areas. When I'm explaining the program initially, either to the students who are just visiting us for recruitment or check out the program, or who have even gone through orientation and about to begin the 2-year full-time program, what we're really creating and what we teach are convergence majors. And so you don't call it that, but that's really it. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing convergence in about 5 or 6, 10, different arenas. We're seeing platforms converge. We're seeing the law converge. We're seeing the media themselves converge, gaming, music, film, broadband, on and on and on. We're seeing not only the actual media or medium convergence, but we're also seeing the companies themselves are gobbling each other up. There was an article in the paper, I guess, about a week ago, the end of September 2007, in which TiVo has now said, hey, we're getting into the music industry. So, that's a typical convergence example. And so what we do is we look at case studies. We analyze these industries separately to become conversant in the basic issues that have, really been the foundation of their music but business models for up to a century. And we look at what's changing, and we look for how these are coming together. And ultimately, what we're looking at always are issues that relate to one of two things, and it's going to be content or delivery. And the irony is that in the past, those were very clear distinctions, and now we're seeing that really a lot of the content people are delivery people, or a lot of the delivery people are content people. And the classic example, of course, would be Apple, which is a computer company, but makes most of its money not from selling computers, but really from the music industry now. That's a good question. How do you get your music actually placed in a video game? I've known people who have made a pretty good career out of being staff writers. In other words, it is conceivable, especially with some of the smaller companies who have not been gobbled up by the larger publishers, to actually find work as almost a Tin Pan Alley kind of staff writer. So that's a possibility. Those jobs obviously are few and far between. There aren't that many companies that are large enough to have staff music writers. But in the long shot, that's a good, or in the long term, that's a good move for them if they can, because everything that would be produced would be a work made for hire, would not generate royalties, and it's very clean. Otherwise, I know of no real system. I don't know of anyone, for example, who is making a living representing people and farming them out, shopping out composers, for example, to be placed in those types of games. The large publishers, the EA, for example, would more than likely have a room full of people who do that. So there's not a need for them to be consciously shopping around for new talent, although it does seem to surface. So I don't have any clear advice on that, to be honest with you, other than there are many websites, there are many organizations that are trade organizations, International Game Developers Association, and all of the smaller components that are on state level. I would become familiar with those organizations. Some of them do from time to time have various employment opportunities posted. Some of the state governments, in particular Texas, which I'm most familiar with, are actually beginning to recognize what a very lucrative industry this has become, and they are beginning to formally create organizations to help coordinate those efforts. For example, and I can only speak as to what's happening in Texas, but for about the last 30 years, there's been a very active subset of the Texas Governor's Office, which operates the Texas Film Commission. And a few years ago, they realized that many of the the common issues and aspects that they were dealing with were also common to the gaming industry. And so they are now, it's not only a film commission, it's also an interactive gaming commission as well. And it's been an uneasy alliance, but it seems to be working very well. And I just mentioned that in response to the question about if you are interested in any aspect of gaming or interactive gaming, there are surprisingly more and more different entities out there that can help you, further your career. Now, whether or not that specifically addresses placing music in a game, I don't know. You'd have to kind of look into that on an ad hoc basis. And I think it's real relevant right now, obviously, with